Yes.
All right, let's get into what Todd Monken said yesterday. Zach, you were there, and I don't have my glasses on as we previously established. So when Anthony puts this quote on the screen, I need you to read it for me in your best Todd Monken voice. We take this full, so I literally can't. Zach, will you read this?
With the raspy voice.
I've never done a Todd Monken on the mic. We threw interceptions in 7-on-7, for God's sake. Who does that? There's no pass rush. I mean, it was embarrassing. It wasn't too good. Now, I went back. I chuckled out loud, like I stepped back from the media scrum when he said that. But when I went and read it later, the question he was asked was about the defense standing out. And I think the reporter who asked it was expecting like an answer of like the defense is, of course, is ahead. It's May, or we have a really good defense. But Todd went right. So he was sending a message there. Interceptions do happen. OTAs is way more about the process than the result. But he was sending a message that he's disgusted by seeing interceptions. And I will tell you, my colleague in Baltimore, Jeff Zrebeck, who covered Todd for his time there, he would tell us that, say, Thursday at 3:30 was the time that the coordinator spoke. They didn't get to watch practice, but he said he could read Todd's body language by the second year and know if they had a good practice or not by the way Todd approached the media session and answered the first two questions, because he was not able to hide whether he thought it was a great practice or thought it was a crappy one. And Todd doesn't use the word crappy.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We just talked about,
it's a refreshing thing here in Cleveland, no doubt. I think it's both. I think it's mostly a good thing because this is an honest business. Your family business comes out every Sunday at 1, and this team plays every Sunday at 1. So I think it's a good thing over the long haul, and I am interested because this is a front office and an ownership group that's very buttoned up and has at times been scared of the truth. And so, like, if the Browns start 1-5 and we ask Todd why a certain third down play didn't work, and he says, "Boy, do you see who we have out there?"
It can happen.
But yeah, it's certainly a thing. Whether it's a good thing or bad thing is open to a discussion.
I appreciate the brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Because I've learned in my 11 years doing media, but specifically in this medium, right? The discussion format, the take world we live in now. When coaches are vague, and obviously they're not going to tell you everything. Like, I understand that they're hiding, secrets. They're never going to be 100% honest and forthcoming with you. But when they're vague and they leave things up to interpretation, it is almost always significantly worse when you let us fill in the blanks than when you tell us what actually happened. When you allow my brain to come up with topics for Jason, for G, for Bull, for Jay, and they have no guidelines or parameters to stay within because you gave us nothing to work with, which is what the previous regime did often. They're going to fill in the empty space with way worse realities or way worse ideas than what the reality is. So to hear Todd Monken go up there and say that, to hear how he answered the question about Myles Garrett, which we'll get into more tomorrow, to hear how he handles these interactions, it is not only a breath of fresh air, but I think it's going to do wonders for how we as a media kind of discuss the Browns, because we'll have more insight into what's actually happening as opposed to the complete vagueness and gray area-ness that we've had the last 4 years.
I agree. Look, press conferences setting the YouTube chat on fire or sparking Twitter discussion, that's a byproduct. What they're for is for the people involved to set the message, to set the narrative, to get on the record what they think about something, good, bad, or indifferent, right? And when they are vague, or when they do run from the truth, then it is left to more fodder.
If you don't talk, you let us talk for you.
Yes.
I've said that for years. That's the worst thing you can do. And so, of course, you love to hear Todd be very honest and truthful. Coming off of Freddie, people loved that Kevin was so buttoned up.
Yeah.
Until they started losing, and then it became, this guy's a buffoon. So if they lose, it will quickly become, well, stop telling us the truth and fix it. So it comes down to winning every time. It doesn't matter what the style is, you just have to win.
And Kenny Atkinson, I think, is pretty truthful with us.
Yeah.
Until you don't like what he has to say.
Yeah.
And when he says, I didn't use a timeout because I want to hold my timeouts to the end, that's him being honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We just don't like what he had to say. So there is a give and take with it. But
I'd
rather this approach than the other.
There comes a point where they're not setting the message or setting the discussion because the result is what it is. But in the meantime, this is their opportunity. This is their platform. This is their moment to decide, hey, this is how we're going to deal with it. You talk about what you want, but I'm going to tackle it head on.
I also like when coaches or players or anyone in that situation standing in front of the media is asked a question, but they are so passionate about something that they're going to give you the answer. It didn't matter what the question was.
They're going to answer the question they wanted.
I don't know what the exact question was. You said it was more about the defense. Someone could have asked Todd about the kicker, and I'm sure he was going to give that same answer of, we cannot throw interceptions in 7-on-7. And if you go back and listen to Todd Monken when he was on the This Is Football podcast with Kevin Clark and when he was with Ken and Lima in the morning. His disgust for bad football, he can't hide that. That has come through every time he's in front of a mic. This man hates bad football, and hopefully that translates into a much better product for us and the fan base on Sundays.
Again, we'll check back in October. We'll be right here.
We will be. That's true. You can't hide from the family business being aired out on Sundays.
Right.
They have 17 games. They're going to play 17 games, and they can't forfeit. So we're going to find out pretty soon one way or another.
16 of them will be at Sunday.
You know what
at 1.
Kevin told me one time?
Yeah.
He said, I appreciate what you guys all do, and I appreciate. He said, but sometimes I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to answer the question you asked. I'm going to answer the question I wish you asked.
Yeah.
And no one had ever said it like that, and I thought, okay, point to you for now. I'll be back.
Before we get to 6-second trivia, and knowing how Kevin answered questions, did he ever give you something that you weren't expecting that you actually were able to use or needed?
The short version of this answer would be this. Kevin was not the type to trash people behind closed doors. But Kevin's personality and approach, he was very direct and very dry and hilarious. That never came out on the mic. Todd, I think we're getting the real version. Kevin just chose that way. It's not like Kevin behind closed doors was this evil person telling you he hated everyone and everyone sucked. He just had a different way of talking about things. And I think he did address the team that way, what little we've seen. It's just so far we're getting unfiltered Todd, and we think, wow, that's real Todd.
Mm-hmm. Keep it up.